Good morning, YouTube friends. Today it's all about lavender and elderberry and a little bit about pears. So let's go see what we're doing on the farm. Are my two big hosta plants. Aren't they gorgeous? My little fern patch is doing really well this year. It's starting to die back, as you see. Now this is a terribly weedy bed. I make no apologies for that. These little yellow ditch daisies, black-eyed Susans, are really blooming. They were given to me by a fellow who came to the farmer's market. He had them on the back of a trailer and just in big wads with the earth show, and he said, "Does anybody want these? I just dug them out of my ditch." And I said, yes, I'd love to have them. They're right next to a big mound of elephant ears. These things are huge, and Adam is letting them get as large as he can before he makes elephant ear leaves with them. He makes those out of concrete. But the thing I really want to share with you is further away from the road and a little quieter, thankfully. We're going to go into what we call the orchard. There's not much of an orchard in there. But we found apple trees and one pear tree, and so we thought of it as an orchard. This is where the chickens get to free range. It's about 1/3 of an acre. So we'll see the chickens as we go in there. I've got a horsefly flying around my head. Hope he doesn't bite me. There's lots of vines and stuff here now. We tried to keep it in good shape for a while. I dumped about a bunch of corn cobs back there for them to eat on. And they have. There's also a branch down on the ground. Hello, little birds. Now there's Clementine. Good morning, Clementine. Now here is Sheena. Sheena is the bird that's, I guess you call her the most friendly. She won't let me pick her up. She don't like to be picked up. But she's not afraid of me at all. And she'll come right up to me, hoping for snacks, of course. Clementine is also not afraid of me at all. I just call her Clemmy most of the time. Ruru is pretty friendly. But now that one over there, that's Pepper. She's very skittish. And there's a couple of other hens over there. Now, although this may look lovely and idyllic on the video, it's pretty overgrown. It makes me nervous walking back here because we do live in a part of the world with plenty of snakes. I'm going to cross over. You can still see this was a raised bed with a ditch, and a raised bed with a ditch, and a raised bed with a ditch over there. This was a large raised bed garden that belonged to the previous owner. But it got too shady, and I don't think he wanted to cut down the big pecan trees that were shading it and the very large, I mean, seriously, that's a small pecan. There's another tree back there. But these are the really large pecans over here, and they shade in a complete canopy, this area. So it really can't be used as a garden. This is a swamp willow tree here. We've only left it because the chickens love to sit under there. It's really useful for them to have protection from predators. This is an apple tree as well, and there's apple trees espaliered all along the edge over there, and we cleared them out at one time, but they don't bear, so it wasn't worth the trouble. And all of this here is all muscadine grapevines. Again, they're in too much shade to bear. Matter of fact, these didn't even leaf out this year. Adam has cut them all back and worked with them, and it's just not a place where you can grow anything. So I came back here to show you the pear tree. This is another thing that Adam managed for a while. We wanted to make it more accessible. It bears amazingly. He got up on a great big ladder. This was about 5 years ago, and cut 1/3 of it out of the top. And then the next year he cut another third out of the top, and then that was the last third. And he was too afraid to get up that high and cut that much of the tree out. And I don't blame him. I don't blame him. This year I haven't done anything with these pears. I didn't do anything last year either because he was so sick. But oh my, I could still get out here. With pears, they drop to the ground. I'm really hoping that that the chickens are enjoying them a little bit. It looks like they might be. I think they've been eating at them. Looks like they are. But there's lots of pears still on the tree. They're really beautiful. And I have picked them before. Pears ripen from the inside out, and so if you get one that's already soft on the outside, you can be certain it's rotten on the inside. So you have to pick them when they're still pretty firm. Oh, I hate to see fruit go to waste. But when I look at this, all I see is lots of work. This is a year for pear fruit though. Oh my goodness. Look at all these are all the low hanging. Ouch. Talk about low hanging. Look at this. I might have to get back out here and get some. I did make pear preserves 1 or 2 years, and there was one fella at church, a man at church, that really liked the pear preserves. See, we worked so hard with this tree. We cut out all these little, at one point we cut out all the suckers, and of course it's got vines growing in it too. Anyway, he liked, but pears made into preserves, there's kind of a grainy texture to them. It's not smooth, and I didn't find it that pleasant. They don't have a very strong flavor, so you mostly have to sweeten it with sugar. So, if you're just desperate for preserves, then yeah, but we're not so poor that we can't afford to buy preserves. I've got all the jelly jars and bands and lids that I need. I don't know. I just don't know. I could pick them and offload them at the farmer's market, give them away for free, but we really don't like it when people give things away for free because it makes it difficult to sell stuff when people are giving stuff away. Oh, look. Now see, I do not like summer. I love fall and winter and early spring. I love the cold weather. And so this right here makes me so happy. When I see that, I go, oh, there's a mosquito that just landed on my thumb. Oh my goodness, had to blow him away. Anyway, so here's the big pear tree. And I show you this because there's another pear tree I want to show you too in another spot. Now I'm going back out the orchard, but I thought I'd stop here to show you. This is a fence that it doesn't show, it's not the border of our property, but it is what encloses this long area. There's that same mosquito on my thumb. And you see here how a branch from this pine tree has kind of fallen down and is over top of the fence. And then here's some vine that's just totally taken over this fence. Here's one of the apple trees. It's not bearing any apples. It's quite large. It's actually what used to be a espalier on the outside. Boy, there's mosquitoes out here. But it doesn't get enough sun to bear anything. There's more back there. So this is kind of a mess. This is the kind of work that Adam does want to get after. He's been too ill to work for he was for about a year. And now the jobs he has to get after are working on that little house over there. So it's quite challenging to find the time for him. Plus, he's a pastor. He has a full-time job. So it's very difficult to find the time to do what you need to do. This is the back of our garage. If you want to see like the ugly, well, I don't know if it's the ugliest spot on our farm. I don't know if you can call what we have a farm because we don't really raise anything except for a few chickens. A lot of weeds. We do have some perennial stuff that I like to keep after, but we are pretty much done with trying to grow stuff on our property. I'm going to take you to see that other pear tree now. So now we're walking toward the front of the property. I'm going to hold the microphone really close because we have so much traffic. I think if we tried to sell this place, that would be the most difficult selling point. I know it was for us, is that the house is so close to the road. We've gotten quite used to it. There's no mean people on this road. We don't have any nasty neighbors or anything like that. It's a very rural place to live, but it's a county, 2-lane county highway. And so people do fly along that road. All right. So there's a bunch of little trees. And this is one of them. This is a little pear tree. And Adam has trimmed it and trimmed it. You can see he's trimmed it so he can mow underneath it. And every year he would get a ladder out here and he would cut away all these little suckers that grow, all the ones that grow straight up off of the branch. And it never bore anything And then the other day, he said he saw a pear on the ground. Then I came walking out here and look. There's 2 pears on this tree. So, and of course they are on the sunny side that faces south. So I don't know if it'll ever be a bear. I think this is a tree that's going to get cut down along with the crepe myrtles. All right, I'm going to take you back to the garden to look at my lavender and my elderberries. All right, I just came through the gate and now we're in the pasture. You see that we burnt down our burn pile. Adam's going to mow over this. There was some metal in there we've gradually accumulated over years of burn piles. Because we're moving the location of the burn pile. We're moving it out there to where that big log is. He dragged that out there with the riding mower. And he is going to, well, this is another topic for another day. But this is all the metal that was in this burn pile. It's all going to get removed and put into a big pit. No, it's a hole. It's a nice dry square hole that's been cinder blocked on the inside. It's a mystery, a very mysterious hole in our property. We don't know why it was built. It was clearly built, but he needs to fill it in because he needs to mow over it. And it's rather invisible. We discovered it by accident. We think maybe it was for hiding bootleg alcohol or something. I have no idea. So this will go in there because he needs to fill it in, and he'll fill it in with other stuff over time. And then he's going to even out all these. These are just ashes. He's going to mow over this, and we'll still have a burn pile, but it'll be a fire pit here, a nice fire pit with pavers and maybe gravel around it, a place to sit and roast marshmallows. This was out of hand and kind of ugly. So we'll move, but on a farm, this is almost 4 acres. We have to have a place to burn fallen branches and stuff. Oh, there he's working. See, there's the dependency. So we're going to move the big fire pile, the burn pile, out into the pasture. Pasture is just a big, hot place. No trees. It's great for grazing animals, but a little hot for humans to stay. More and more, I feel like what I would love to do with this area, I think we need to get rid of the barn or do something with it because it's probably full of mice and rats. That's not good. And we're still working on, where is it over there? That's our little willow dome that we're still working on. It's looking kind of scraggly. But I would love it if we built some raised platforms out here, like maybe 3. Like maybe one over there, and maybe one over here somewhere. Just 3 that were spread out from each other. Because there is, straight through there, is a gate. You can't see it now because it's overgrown. Adam deliberately let it overgrow so people couldn't get through there and the dogs couldn't escape through there. But there's a gate that we could open. People could drive in through there if they wanted to camp here. And if we had raised platforms, it wouldn't be too wet. And they could pitch their tents on the platform. And we could, we have some water, if you can see it. It's right next to that tree in the pasture right there. Okay. So we could get some water hooked up for them. And I think that would be a great use of this space. And they could come in this way so they wouldn't be coming in at the gate that's near the house. But I have to convince my husband that he wouldn't mind having people stay on the property. I think that is just not anything he's very interested in, especially if we don't particularly need the money. But I think it would be a wise thing to do. We're heading toward retirement age, but we have no way to retire. So it'd be nice to have an added income. So here's the elderberries. I've picked all the, well, I and the birds have picked all the berries off of them this year. And so they're looking, compared to how they used to look, I need to weed that one out and that one. Oh goodness. But that will be on a cooler day. This one still has some berries, but they're still green. See? So I probably won't end up getting those. But I like the idea of having elderberry, and I'd love it if they get to be big. So here's the rest of the garden, and just to let you know, we are giving up on the garden. We have no plans for the garden. Adam is going to take down, we've got a whole perimeter fence around, and then the fence back there is the back fence of our property. And so he's going to take all the fencing down and use the post to remake my chicken pen. And we'll only have a few permanent things back here that will stay. Those 3 elderberry. See, look at our hoop house. This is, it's just, I mean, it's still very serviceable. He needed to clear it out of all the weeds and move it. I don't know what it's going to be. I've got one decent rosemary. This is an asparagus bed that does bear. I don't know if we're going to try to keep it or not. These were my tomatoes this year. They're done. I've got a few more I could pick there. See, I don't weed in July and August. I'm doing good just to come out here. Here's an elderberry, and here is my lavender. Look at that. Isn't that crazy? It's just growing underneath the elderberry. It's very happy, but I think I need to cut off the elderberry branches that are growing over here before it just takes it over completely, and encourage the elderberry to grow on the other side and give this some space. It's a really big tire. It's raised. I love to have lavender blooms to dry and put in sachets, and this video will show you how I made a couple of those. And then I've got one more elderberry here. We've had green beans on poles. We've had okra, sweet potatoes, white potatoes, pumpkins, peas and beans and strawberries, and hundreds of tomato plants. We've had so many things out here over the years, but I think we are done. There was some volunteer zucchini in there, but I don't see them doing anything. But we're done. We're definitely done. There's even still strawberry plants in here, but I don't think I'm going to bother to get them out. Let me pick these tomatoes and then we'll go back to the house. To be totally honest, once this whole garden is broken down and basically is returned to pasture, except for a few little raised beds in there, it wouldn't be a bad idea to develop some shade in there. And the easiest way to do that is with, I don't know if you can see way over there at the end of my finger, we have a stand of willow. One of them is a beautiful specimen willow. The other are all swamp willows. But that one beautiful willow, we could take slips off of that easily and stick them in the ground out here in the spring before the wet season, and they would all grow into trees. That one over there has only been there maybe 4 years, and it's already probably a 20-foot tree. So, and a stand of willows, just occasional willows out there, would be gorgeous. There is some shade on the back of the property, and that's also the highest spot in the property. I'm really thinking out loud, friends. Just ruminating. I'm always thinking about this property and what we should do with it, but it's a slow development. I think that this area here is my favorite spot because it's shady, of course. I love the huge pine tree. It really dominates this whole field. And I think it's lovely. This is where the kids used to have a hammock. Matter of fact, the hooks are still there to sling a hammock up, which would also be a nice thing for campers to be able to do. But this would be a beautiful place to have a tent underneath this tree and have a hammock there and have a fire pit there, have water access there. It is a thought. Bye-bye pasture. I go out there a lot more often in the fall. Hey, pupper. Are you ready to do some lavender and elderberry? I've been trying to remember to harvest the elderberries on my elderberry trees, and sometimes the birds or something has gotten to them first a bit, but there's still a lot of berries on here. These are very ripe. You see how they're just about black. I went to the garden and harvested pretty much all the rest of them, and so I think there'll be a good many in there. I'm taking them off their stems, putting them in a Ziploc bag, and putting them in the freezer until I decide what I'm going to do with them. I've been collecting lavender from one little lavender bush that finally survived in my garden, and it's actually been bearing now for a couple of years, and I've been saving, cutting off the flower stalks and saving them, just putting them in a little jar. I just love how they look, but I didn't know what to do with it. And then recently I saw on Kate Jackson's YouTube station, The Last Homely House. This was from probably a couple years ago or so. She was making little lavender pouches using lavender flowers. And then a friend also gave me some lavender flowers in this little bag. And I've got all of these. And so I think I'm going to put them all together and make some lavender pouches, just flat pouches, not big puffy ones, but nice ones that lay flat to put in your into your lingerie drawers or whatever. They just seem so sweet. And I've got some little fat quarter squares of fabric that would be perfect. Well, it occurred to me that maybe stripping lavender blossoms off of stems might be a calming thing to watch. Well, this is going to take me forever. See, every time I would get a little cluster, I'd go out and just cut some. I didn't want to cut all of them. Don't ask me why. And I would tie it up in a little bundle. So each little bundle represents a foray to the garden to gather lavender. I thought I would tell you about this bowl that I'm putting these in. I love big soup bowls like this. Or they're not big, but they're shallow and broad. This is a true soup bowl, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, just different from a cereal bowl. I love bowls like this. I love to eat dinner in them if I'm having any kind of a rice dish or any kind of a pasta dish. I always opt for a bowl like this. Practically, I find it easier to eat from because you have a bit of an edge to press against when you're getting your food. But I just love their shape. Anyway, let me see, what year was that? 1980. 1985? Goodness, how come I can't remember? No, it was later than that. Anyway, in the late 80s, probably 87, in the summer, I was single, very active in my church singles group, and it was a big church, and we took a lot of missions trips, and I don't know how much good they did to the people we went to serve, supposedly. I guess it got us out of town and doing something interesting. And we also spent a lot of money in communities elsewhere in the world that maybe could have used it. I don't know. This was a trip to Poland, and if it was 87, it was really, really soon after Poland had opened up a bit. And I think that they were looking for visitors. We were supposed to do street evangelism. Oh my goodness. Seriously? I no offense against those who tried to get us to do it, but that was an old model of Christian outreach that was no longer working. Nobody wants to be accosted in the street, really? I mean, I know I don't. Why did I think anybody else did? But we traveled halfway across the world to do it. But I'm embarrassed to say what it did do in me was satisfy a desperate need to see other cultures and travel. I loved blending in to other cultures. So much so that I went to Poland twice. And both times we had to have an interpreter, of course. We didn't speak Polish. And after my second trip there, we were just about to leave to get on the train, I guess, or the bus or something to leave the town we were in. And somebody who worked with the organization there in the country, in other words, they lived in Poland, but they were probably American. They managed these trips, and they knew the interpreter, the translators. And they knew what the students and young people look like who came on these trips from America. And the person came up to me and said, and asked who I was translating for. And I looked at her and I was like, I'm not a Pole. I don't speak Polish. Because by that time I just really looked. I looked like a Pole. I had bought. We went over there, I guess in June, and it was freezing cold. And I had come from Mississippi, and I didn't have anything warm to wear. So I went into some store there, and this was back when Poland was still pretty rustic. Okay, I mean seriously, this was a little over 40 years after World War II, and it hadn't been that long. Anyway, I found this sweater that I liked, but it was straight off the farm. I wish I still had that sweater. I mean, it smelled like sheep and lanolin. Now I know what those smells were. At the time, I had no idea. Anyway, I bought this sweater, and I think I just looked the part and smelled the part, and I don't know, whatever, but I looked like a young Polish translator. But I did shop while I was there. I bought various things. I bought some little baskets. I still have one of those. I can't believe the things I bought. I had a duffel bag was the only thing that I had. I must have carried these things back in a box. I bought 4 champagne flutes, very delicate. I may still have them. They're probably in a box somewhere. I can't imagine I'd give them away. These things were very precious to me because I loved Poland. Absolutely loved Poland. Cherished that place. This was the first trip though, so it must have been 87. But I bought 4 soup bowls. These were from Poland. And 4 dinner plates. And brought them back as well as the champagne flutes. I must have not taken many clothes. I must have left plenty of space for stuff. That was so much fun. I think I bought some jewelry. I don't remember. I bought a chess set for my brother that somehow I ended up keeping. I'm not sure why. Maybe he didn't want it. I don't know. Anyway, and I have loved these bowls ever since. And I broke all 4 of the dinner plates because I kept those out when my children were still growing up. And of course they got broken. But the soup bowls we didn't really use much. You don't use soup bowls with kids. And so finally, a few years ago, I pulled these out and have been enjoying them ever since. And so this has been a little bit of a nostalgic trip down memory lane for me, talking about Poland. This is going to be more lavender than I thought. Interesting. And then I'll put it together with the lavender my friend gave me, and I'll make some pouches. I'm thinking of sending one of these little lavender pouches as a gift to the next hostess on the Jolly the Postman tour. This will be one of her little happies. That's why I need to make it nice and flat and not bulky, because we are supposed to send flat gifts, not big bulky ones. Fun, fun, fun. And this, I wish you could, don't you wish we had smell-o-vision? So you could smell this? I'm wondering if I should just put a few drops of lavender essential oil in it as well. I wonder if that would last. It might. Wouldn't be a bad idea. Look at that. Pretty fun. Some of these are loose sprigs. Here's some loose sprigs. These must be older. I go out there every so often, and I would just cut a few. I didn't want to strip the bush of all of its flowers. And I would pick the fresh ones. I wouldn't pick the old dry ones. I don't really know if it makes a difference. But then when I thought about making the pouches and I had a purpose for my lavender, I was like, ooh, let's go get all the rest of it. So I went out yesterday and cut all the lavender blooms off the plant that I could get to. They were hiding among the elderberry branches. I've been trying to remember to pick my elderberry too. I'm freezing them. I have no idea what I'm going to do with them. I don't have enough to like make, jam or anything. It's not that much. But I've got a little clip of elderberry picking. Maybe I'll put that in here. All right. Well, I'm going to shut up now. and finish this. And maybe I'll find some pretty music. I want to hunt for really pretty YouTube music like Kate Jackson has. She's my I want to be like her YouTuber. Okay. If I can get all of this lavender. It's a bit more purple than mine. Must have been picked fresher. Don't really know. But it all smells wonderful. Okay, I'm not going to show you very much because my studio is way too messy. Like this kind of messy. Even my desk is messy. But we're not going to look at that. Now we're going to look at what I'm making right now. I'm making some little lavender sachets. One of these is going to go away to somebody, and one of them is going to stay here with somebody. I picked some old fabric I had. This is some lavender that I actually used to make my husband a vest. And then this is some polka dotted kind of lavender looking. And so I thought those would be perfect colors for making a lavender sachet. And I just cut out squares, this kind of square. And I sewed with a 5/8 of an inch selvage and then turned it, leaving a little opening. And then sewed around with kind of a bright, can you see what color that thread is? Kind of a bright blue. Actually, that's thread that I've chosen to do another vest for my husband I haven't made yet. And so I sewed another seam around the outside because I think it looks nice, plus it keeps the lavender in better. And then I used this little funnel in the little opening to pour my lavender buds in. I also added a few drops of lavender essential oil to that and then shook it around really well just to boost the scent. Hope that helps. So now I'm going to put the other one, the rest of it in this one, and then I'll just hand stitch this up in the corner and they'll be done.